Alright, Shalom, first and foremost, I want to give all praise, glory, and honor unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Harachah Kodash, and double honors unto the apostles and elders of GMS Great Millstone, and a sincere Shalom to Yaki in bringing out this word in diligence and in truth. Now, I want to play this video, and hop into the scriptures, because when I seen this, of course, everything we look at, everything we hear, there's a spiritual understanding to it all, man. So I just want to play this video and then hop into it. Right, and it says the 100-year-old wine worth $400,000, which in a worldly sense is like, wow, man, it's 100 years old. The history behind the grapes in which was crushed, the individuals who crushed them, when it was bottled, the environment and the business in which it was formed in. But at the same time, that's nothing, man. Why? Hey, because Yahweh Shai told us this. Right, when we go into, one of the promises in which he told his elect, it was for this here, right? And this is during the time of the Pesach, right? Yahweh Shai's Passover, which was a solemn assembly, by the way. Jake tries to make it to be a party where you got to purchase tickets, man. No, this was when, Yahweh Shai knew that he had to be offered up, for his blood to be, shed for the remission of sins for the elect, man, and ultimately all of Israel in the kingdom, man. Right? This is Matthew 26. As a matter of fact, I'm going to start at 20. 19. And the disciples did as Yahweh Shai had appointed them, and they made ready the Passover. Now when the evening was come, he sat down with the 12, and as they did eat, he said, Verily I say unto you that one of you shall betray me. So it shows you how heavy the tension was within that room, man. Right? It says, and they were exceeding sorrowful, and began every one of them to say unto him, Lord, is it I? And he answered and said, He that dippeth his hand with me in the dish, the same shall betray me. The Son of Man goeth as it was written of him. But woe unto that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It had been good for that man if he had not been born. Then Judas, which betrayed him, answered and said, Master, is it I? He said unto him, Thou hast said. And as they were eating, Yahweh Shai took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to the disciples and said, Take, eat this. This is my body, right? Which is also important, right? Because when we look at, how the Lord, made bread important in terms of the scriptures, bread being of doctrine, likewise with wine, right? So continue, right? And understanding that Yahweh Shai comes in a volume of the book and it's written of him, as the scripture says in Psalms 40:7 and Hebrews 10:7. How much more important, is Yahweh Shai's plight and walk, man, right? It says, and he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, Drink ye all of it, right? Which we understand in the time of Exodus, it was told unto us to drink ye in haste. But understanding the fullness of the bitter of the wine, eating the whole bread, and making sure you got the fullness of doctrine, now that's the importance, man. Because a lot of Jake, they have, the flesh, they got the sinews, but no breath. Their doctrine is lacking because it holds leaven within it. All right, but Yahweh Shai said, Drink ye all of it, for this is my blood of the New Testament, for which is shed for the many. It's like which is shed for many for the remission of sins. But I say unto you, I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. Right, and that is what that video reminded me of. The 29th verse, I'm going to read again. But I say unto you, I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine, right? Wine, the blood of the grape, until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. And we use extrapolation when we actually think of these things. Because, man, to think of, Yahweh Shai bringing out, a bottle, a yayan unto his elect, man. We're talking about ancient grapes, We're talking about when the scriptures tell us this. So, like, yeah. This is Numbers 13 and 23. It says, and they came unto the brook of Eshcol, and cut down from thence a branch with one cluster of grapes. And they bare it between two upon a staff, and they brought of the pomegranates and of the fig. So it took 2 men to carry that cluster of grapes. So we're talking about when the earth, had more of its fullness, right? And understanding Yahawashi being the chief of the Alahayim, what type of grapes are these, man? Now we don't know. Scriptures doesn't say, but these are thoughts, that when we come across scriptures, we think about. And it's not to come to a sense to bug out, because the scriptures tell you this. It says, Sirach 3:21, it says, seek not out things that are too hard for thee, neither search the things that are above thy strength. So if it's not written, the specifics, then it just isn't. And that's not for you to, continue to try to dive deep and create a doctrine out of it. That's not the purpose. That's why the scripture is telling you to seek not out those things, man. But what is commanded thee, think thereupon with reverence. For it is not needful for thee to see with thine eyes the things that are in secret. And that's something that's in secret, man. Right? Because the elect, are going to partake in that with Yahawashi, man. That's something given unto a special occasion unto his men, him and his men. Those whom those who were given unto him, before the world were created, man. Right? As he said, they are thine and thine are mine. And Yahweh has given them unto him. Be not curious in unnecessary matters, for more things are shown unto thee than men understand. Right? But that's the point, man. Understanding that, when we come across certain videos, so forth and so on, man. The spirit, still works, because scriptures come into our mind, accounts come into our mind of the wisdom of the scriptures, man. And Yahawashi saying what? Hey, I shall drink it new with you in the kingdom. Now that bottle was made of glass, and it took, this Edomite man to hold it. Now we understand, the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, there's wines that are older than 100 years old, man. Hey, look up the top name of or the most expensive wines on Google and watch which Edomite names pop up, man. You're going to see the Rockefellers, you're going to see the Rothschilds, and wine at 250 years old, so forth and so on, man. But that's nothing, because and we, Lord willing, we continue and be of that number. And Yahawashi is gonna have that wine, that yayan, with his elect, man. So not to make the lesson too lengthy, but that's something we look forward to, along with the other promises which are established. 1 Corinthians the 15th chapter, a new body, new mind. As the scriptures say, take out the stony heart and replace it with a heart of flesh. A mind that will never be able to go off. A body that will never be sinful, or subject unto sin, because we'll be made perfect. These are the things in which, we have our hope in, man, which is expectation. These thoughts that the scriptures, allow us to meditate on. When we're down, in your daily life, going through your hell, we meditate upon the good news, the gospel. And Yahweh Shem Ashai allows the word to work to lighten up our hell, man. That's just how the spirit works. And that's what happened when I seen this video. I'm like, dang, this is just another benefit of being in that number, man. Along with dominion and spiritual power, and we don't even think about women. We think about ruling, man. Order, government. But this video in particular, led me to think, about that scripture when Yahawashi said it during this Pesach, and that's why it's important to keep the ministry pure as well, because it's symbolized or symbolic to that wine and that bread, that honey, the water. So that's the point right there. Not to make the lesson too lengthy, just a thought within the spirit, that led to, Lord willing, something edifying. I want to give all praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahawashi, Bahashem, Harachakwadash. A double honors unto the apostles and elders of GMS Great Millstone, and a sincere shalom to Yakim, bringing out this word in diligence and in truth. Shalom.